In the late 1980s and early 1990s, Russia underwent a huge change, the likes of which we had never really seen before. For decades before that, communism was the law of the land, and Russia, then known as the USSR or Soviet Union, vowed it would never change its ways, even as more and more nations across the globe accepted Americanism and capitalism. In the early 1990s, the USSR was facing an onslaught of change and horrible economic news. And because of that, and some external factors, the system in place completely collapsed upon itself, and the Soviet Union crumbled. This opened the door for the next stage in Russian history, and for the country that always fought against capitalism to open its arms and embrace it. But the change from communism to capitalism wasn't smooth, and it was fraught with steep price increases, crime, and poverty that hurt the middle and lower class of Russia more than anyone else. In Russia's quest to compete, the powers that be completely overlooked the working people of Russia and left them out in the cold. December 31, 1991 was a very historic day in the history of the world. While the majority of Earth was celebrating entering a brand new year, the Soviet Union was breathing its last breaths. After months, really, years, of change and pressure from external factors, other countries, and a weakening economy, the Soviet Union was about to officially dissolve. It had been a long time coming. Really, most people agreed that the Soviet Union had been heading toward collapse since at least 1985. But when it finally shuttered at the end of 1991, a brand new government was ushered into power. Gone was the country's former leader, Mikhail Gorbachev, replaced by a new president, Boris Yeltsin. What was once one superpower became 15 independent countries, such as Moldova, Ukraine, Belarus, Estonia, and others. Russia was still a massive country with millions of people who had been suffering through one of the worst economic downturns seen in modern human history. So when Yeltsin took control of the nation, he promised to work fast to put money back in people's pockets and get the fledgling Russian economy back on track. Now, how was he going to do that? Was he going to go back to the ways of communism, where everything was closely controlled and relegated by the government? Or would he embrace capitalism, which was flourishing all over the world, including in the United States, which was still regarded as an enemy of Russia? It's important to remember that the people of Russia actually weren't entirely excited about the idea of converting their economic system. While it is very true that communism had run unchecked for years and led to severe problems within the country, nearly 60% of people were still in favor of keeping things the way they were. Just months before the USSR fell apart, millions of Russians were hoping that the nation and all its satellite countries would stay together for the foreseeable future. But Yeltsin had big plans, and he wanted to convert Russia into a capitalist society. And he wanted to do that quickly, introducing a system called shock therapy. That would cause Russians a lot of huge headaches and change the country forever.